Hey, what's up, guys? This is David Chase Taylor at 11truther.org. Today is February 27th, 2026. So, based on breaking news and events, it appears that CIA headquarters located beneath CERN at Lake Geneva in Switzerland is going to execute what I am calling Operation Silent State, which features the full-scale invasion of Utah during the live broadcast of the Denver Nuggets at the Oklahoma City Thunder basketball game on the evening of February 27th of 2026. So this full-scale invasion is going to feature what I have dubbed the Shadow Army of Ukraine. So briefly, according to Wikipedia, a total of 140,000 Ukrainian troops have perished in the ongoing Russo-Ukrainian war. I personally believe that this number is grossly hyperinflated, as evidenced by the fact that we have more video footage of the war in Vietnam prior to the inception of the cell phone camera and drones outfitted with cameras than we do of the now 12-year war that officially commenced back on February 20th of 2014 and started in earnest most recently with the invasion of Ukraine proper back on February 24th of 2022. So I believe that the CIA in Switzerland has developed what I'm calling a shadow army, similar to the Shadow Fleet that the Israeli Navy has, but that's a different story, consisting of roughly 150,000 Ukrainian troops. Now, so the impending invasion of Ukraine, the impending invasion of the state of Utah, which coincidentally shares the same letter as Ukraine, the beginning letter, is basically going to be dubbed as a Nazi invasion, which is why the Vladimir Zelensky regime and her army has been labeled repeatedly as Nazis, as has the Trump administration and the Republican Party. So these two forces are going to come together in the state of Utah on the night of February 27th of 2026. So really quick, this impending invasion is obviously designed to spawn a second global biological pandemic in the aftermath of a biological or chemical related attack, and it's also designed to spark a second American Civil War and or trigger the mutually assured destruction scenario between the United States and Russia. So really quickly, the date of February 27th marks exactly 170 days since the Israeli Mossad alleged sniper assassination of American political activist and strategist Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah, back on September 10th of 2025. This was an ancient, esoteric, and ritualistic Jewish blood sacrifice that was offered up to this impending invasion of the state of Utah, which is where he was killed. And of course, the number 17 equates the letter Q in the English alphabet, as in coup d'etat, as well as in QAnon, because this impending attack and invasion is going to be the birth of a second American Civil War, and is going to pit the U.S. federal government against the so-called QAnon conspiracy theorists, and that's why all the talking heads in the media have been pimping this narrative of the conspiracy, because all these fighters that are going to be you're going to have the Ukrainian army in Utah, and they're going to be dubbed as Russian mercenaries, which is why Trump was allegedly assassinated by, or attempted to be assassinated by, a Ukrainian American who fought in Ukraine. So this is how this scenario is going to work, and the notion that Putin Vladimir Putin would use or recruit foreign troops to use in his wars was evidenced by the recruitment of North Korean troops to fight against Ukraine in the ongoing Russo-Ukrainian war. So they set the precedent for that. This notion is confirmed by the fact that Charlie Kirk was assassinated at Utah Valley University, and so we have whose initials are UVU. And if you take the two U's and you put them together, you have a W, and then you have the VW, as in Nazi Germany, Volkswagen. And this is psychological and numerical foreshadowing. And coincidentally, back on May 5th of 2014, the CIA formed a neo-Nazi paramilitary group entitled the 12th Special Operations Brigade of Ukraine, otherwise known as the Azov Battalion. And so these are the guys that are with Nazi tattoos, with flying Nazi flags and Nazi regalia, and these are the group. According to reports, it's about 5,000, but I suspect that it's much larger. And this is going to be the initial group that's going to come into Utah on the evening of February 27th. And of course, they were formed on May 5th. That's 5-5, and that's symbolically SS, and that is obviously designed to invoke the Nazi SS of World War II, but that's also the name of ISIS is the name, or SS is the name of CIA headquarters at Lake Geneva. Also, the notion that foreign planes would be flying into Utah was foreshadowed by Candace Owens back on October 11th of 2025, when she stated that Egyptian Air Force planes had landed and took off from Provo, Utah on the day that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And the date of February 27th marks exactly 139 days since this was revealed by Candace Owens. And so obviously, in the event of a second foreign planes landing in Utah on the date of February 27th, it would mark two such events in 140 days. This is 2/140. 24 equates to the letter X, and then if you take the number 1 in the middle, and then it forms the Star of David, which is the Jewish Star of David. So you have the first Jewish state, which is Switzerland, circa 1309, founded 1309, and this notion is confirmed by the fact that they hosted the first ever Zionist conference, called the First Zionist Conference, in Basel, Switzerland, back in 1897. And then you have the Jewish Zionist leader of Ukraine named Vladimir Zelensky, who is working in tandem with CIA headquarters in Geneva, and they are going to bring in all these foreign troops into the United States under the guise of, I guess, American separatists or American nationalists. They've created this narrative in the media, and these are the troops that they're going to use. So exactly how this is going to play out is obviously not known, but some sort of a Bundy militia-like standoff. So we have the ongoing Bundy militia standoff outside of Las Vegas with the Bundy Ranch, Cliven Bundy, and the name Bundy was obviously the serial killer Bundy, and this was designed to foreshadow this event. And we had a secondary event a few years later in Oregon at a wildlife sanctuary, and so when these troops land at the airport in Utah, whether they land at a private airport, a military airport, or a public airport, they're likely going to lay siege to a particular location. So we're going to have a prolonged standoff, and this is going to be the birth of a second American Civil War. Then they will state that they want to likely succeed from the United States. And then this will draw people into Utah that want to fight on behalf of a new country because they're sick and tired of the old country. And they're likely going to claim that this is consisting of American militiamen, current and or former United States Armed Forces servicemen and women. And this is likely going to feature the siege of a particular location. Possibly Salt Lake City Airport, possibly Utah Valley University, where Charlie Kirk was assassinated in Orem, Utah, the Sri Radha Krishna Temple, which is a massive temple that's completely out of place in Spanish Fork, Utah, Zion National Park, the Utah Data Center, which was built by the NSA. It's a massive building that has no place in Utah, so that may be where they plan to run this operation out of, or the likes of like Brigham Young or other universities in Utah. So the notion that the CIA wants to spark a civil war in the United States is corroborated by the fact that on March 14th of 2024, the movie Civil War debuted. Coincidentally, the date of February 27th marks exactly 715 days since this movie came out, and this 715 spells G-O, go, and so this appears to be the marching orders that have been given to these Ukrainian troops to go to America and start this war. And this is how the CIA works. They can use troops from a foreign country and then bring them in. They did this during the French-American War, French-Indian War, I believe it was called. They brought in foreign troops. This is nothing new, and they plan to do it again. Also, back on April 12th of 2016, the movie Captain America Civil War premiered. And the date of February 27th marks 3,608 days since this movie premiered. And of course, the number 38 equates to CH, which is the name of Switzerland Confederation Helvetica in Latin. And of course, the date of February 27th marks exactly 58,716 days since the American Civil War ended back on May 26th of 1865. And of course, we have the number 16, the Powerball number of this particular numerology, which is 16, which is found on the logo of CIA headquarters. This impending attack and invasion of Utah is specifically designed also, aside from a civil war, is to spawn a second global biological pandemic. Coincidentally, the date of February 27th marks exactly 2,173 days since the CIA staged the lockdown of the United States during a live broadcast of the Utah Jazz basketball game in Salt Lake City. And so that's why at the beginning of this video I mentioned the game between the Denver Nuggets and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Those two teams were chosen because Denver Nuggets is where Colorado Springs is where the United States government will resort to in the event of a civil war. That's their secondary headquarters. And then, of course, Oklahoma City is synonymous with the Oklahoma City bombing on April 19th of 1995. So that it is intimately associated with domestic terrorism, which is why they chose those teams for this particular night. And of course, the number 2,273 days, or 2,173 days since the U.S. lockdown back on March 17th of 2020. This has the 17 numerology, as previously stated, equates to letter Q as in coup d'etat, and it has a 73 numerology, which is 3 sevens is 777, which is found in the tetragram of Yahweh, which is the highest God in Judaism. Also, the date of February 27th marks 2,273 days since the COVID-19 outbreak in Wuhan, China, back on December 8th of 2019. Again, this number has the 73 numerology, which equates to 777, found in the tetragram of Yahweh, the highest God in Judaism, which is the political motivation behind this impending attack. So I just really want to state for the record here on February 27th of 2026 that the reason why the CIA is trying to import Nazi troops from Ukraine into the United States is because they're trying to create a civil war in the United States, especially in the western half of the United States, to eradicate not only yours truly, but my family and people that I grew up with, because I grew up with a bunch of second and third generation Russian families in Oregon. And so my best friends growing up were Russian. My sister was married to a Russian. There was a number of Russian people that went to our church. So the CIA is trying to associate Russia with the right wing of the American political spectrum so that they can go in and arrest and murder and assassinate people like me and people that are associated intimately with my family that know about me and my situation, especially given the fact that I applied for political asylum in Switzerland. So Switzerland, the first Jewish state, is trying to create war in my neck of the woods, which is why they staged a Bundy militia standoff in Oregon, where I grew up, in order to basically create a warlike scenario where they can basically take out large swaths of people, in myself or people in my family. And this may be by direct assassination, this may be by bombing, this may be by war, by concentration camp, or in my particular case, it would be being arrested for allegedly having links to these people that I have no idea about. So I just want to state that for the record, that Switzerland is planning this, that the CIA in Switzerland is trying to orchestrate this operation in the western half of the United States with this goal of eradicating these people and my family and my community, where I grew up, where I went to high school, where I went to college. That is the stated goal, or that is the goal, and I want to state that here for the record. So just to recap, CIA is plotting a full-scale Russian invasion, or I should say Ukrainian invasion, under the guise of a separatist movement, militia movement in Utah. And what's important to know here is that these Ukrainian troops, people would say, okay, well, what are Russian-speaking Ukrainians doing in Utah? And that is because in the aftermath of this, which is basically going to be theatrical in nature, is they're basically going to claim that these Russians were, if for example, one of these terrorists gets killed and they found or captured and they find out that they're speaking Russian and that they're Ukrainian, will predictably say that these were combatants or veterans of the Ukraine or Russian war that were drawn into Utah, and that they were likely paid mercenaries. That's like the narrative that they want to spawn. So that's apparently what's going to happen, is that they plan to trigger a full-scale civil war in the United States, in Utah, with these Ukrainian troops, which I have dubbed the Shadow Army of Ukraine, starting on the evening of February 27th of 2026. So obviously that cannot be allowed to happen. So if the CIA stages anything similar to what I have laid out here in this video, I would kindly ask you to download this video and share it with local, state, and federal law enforcement, military, and intelligence officials, as well as with local, national, and international outlets. Peace.